Hello and welcome to Politics. Today I am Farrukh Pitafi. Today we are going to talk about a very sad development. Pakistan cricket is very important to the citizens of this nation. This country celebrates cricket whenever it reaches Pakistan. And we have seen of late, within past 4 or 5 days, one by one, a number of cancellations. The first was really jolting because a New Zealand team was within Pakistan and was about to start a match within hours, if not minutes. And then we heard that they are going to cancel and they are going to withdraw. And not only that, after that development, since we were expecting Britain to also play in Pakistan, today we heard that ECB, the cricket board, has decided that they are not going to play. Both times the excuse that was given or the explanation that was given was primarily security related. Now, one could have actually talked about a possibility of security situation, but there hasn't been any bad situation so far. And unfortunately, we have seen that in the past there were examples. For example, Herschel Gibbs, only a few months ago, tweeted that he's being pressured by India's board not to come to Pakistan. We are going to talk about what happened, what can now happen, and what is the way out. And in order to help us understand this issue, Ramiz Raja Saab, who is not only a legendary cricketer, but also chairman PCB, joins us on telephone. Ramiz Raja Saab, thank you very much, sir. So far, we are speculating a lot about what really happened. Do we have now any kind of clarity, sir?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part. Do we have any clarity? Is that what you asked?
Clarity about what really happened, sir.
Clarity is that it's a Western mindset. You know, once New Zealand withdrew from the tour unilaterally, quoting the security threat, then clearly we were expecting the domino effect. And England pulled out, and we're fearing for the worst as far as Australia is concerned also. So we shouldn't be worried about whether we have committed a mistake or whether we made the mistake. I think Southerners need to understand that it was a unilateral decision taken by New Zealand, and England do not have a security excuse to not travel to Pakistan. So they're put player fatigue and living in a bubble. And so that's a flimsy excuse, and they've been taken to the task by international media as well. And I think it's time that Pakistan needs to speak the truth, honestly tackle the situation, and honestly tackle this mindset, because we've gone out of our way to accommodate, the Western Bloc, so to speak. But in return, we feel as if we've been used and then binned.
Right. Ramiz Raja Sahab, there is a reason why everybody is asking what exactly happened. Because there have been speculations that perhaps it was India that might have actually done it. They might have pressured. There were other examples of speculations about Pakistan's defense policy or foreign policy. But do we know at all that what were the factors? I understand that on the face of it, they cited this security issue. But what do you understand is behind these decisions?
No, I think it's wrong to speculate. We shouldn't be looking for a conspiracy theory. The facts are before us, and I think we need to base our discussion on what the facts present us.
Right. Ramiz Raja Sahab, in July 2021, this year, PCB actually announced that they are going to take up the matter of Herschel Gibbs and his statement regarding India pressuring him not to actually participate in Kashmir League. Any progress on that, sir?
No, I've got no take on that. I think it's pointless, really, because the matter, there's other concerning matter which needs to be tackled before we take up such issues.
Right, sir. How unusual is this cancellation? especially when you look at the New Zealand cancellation. While the team was in Islamabad and was about to go to pavilion, this cancellation happened. Do we have any examples recently in the region of a similar kind of cancellation?
I don't think so. Don't think so. Yeah, I mean, the other day, you know, there's bomb threat in New Zealand-England game, and so it was deemed all fine, all okay after security beef up. So they have different, they take different positions for different teams, and which is extremely frustrating.
Right. Have we, I understand that your precious time is important, but I wanted to clarify certain points. Have you taken stock of what is the potential financial damage of these two cancellations, sir? Any number that we might
we know how much we've lost when New Zealand withdrew. We've not really counted the hit.
Can you give us a number on New Zealand?
No, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
Right. Regarding the way forward, what is the way forward, and how does Pakistan Cricket Board's plan to seek a remedy to all these injuries?
You see, maybe need to vent out this frustration, this anger about beating New Zealand, England, India also, because cricket team needs to be on the same page as the fans, as the cricket board, and we're all frustrated. We're all extremely angry, and so we can't physically manhandle, New Zealanders or England, ECB. But it's just that we need to be absolutely on the same page and feel the hurt and vent, but performing well on the field.
One last question. How do you plan to bring international cricket back to Pakistan in coming months?
I mean, it's already. I mean, it's not such a diabolical situation. So I think we just need to be confident that we are not cornered because of our mistake. The others have maybe conceived or perceived a situation, and they took a stance and withdrew. I mean, of no fault of Pakistan Cricket or PCB. So there's nothing to be ashamed of, and there's certainly no plan to re-establish our bearings by asking international to come and make a point, because there's no need to make a point.
Right. Ramiz Raja Sahab, newly appointed Chairman, Pakistan Cricket Board. Thank you very much, sir, for talking to us. Viewers, you have listened to the Chairman PCB. Now, the question at this moment, really eating up a lot of Pakistanis, is what exactly happened. I understand that in his formal capacity, the chairman cannot actually give us the inside scoop, but our other two guests who are going to join us shortly will be able to actually give us some idea what exactly happened. Meanwhile, there is, when you talk about cancellation of or ECB's decision to cancel its tour to Pakistan, we have a very important video clip for you, where a former editor of Telegraph is actually commenting on what happened and how it was a very bad decision. Let us first watch it, and then we are going to move forward.
Look, the English cricket security assessment, we learned, was unchanged. It was judged to be safe. The British High Commission, we learned, was happy with this. This was, in other words, of course, events have been going on in Afghanistan, but the security advice was it was okay to travel. This is a decision taken by the English Cricket Board. And by the way, why haven't we heard from Ian Watmore, chairman of the English Cricket Board? Why hasn't he come out and justified that decision? Invisible Ian. Can I suggest that you ask Invisible Ian to come on to Sky TV and justify his decision, because it stinks.
Why do you think the ECB has made this decision then?
Because they're pusillanimous, they're afraid of the players, they're affected by the Indian, keeping in with the Indians, and in particular the IPL. One notices that Owen Morgan, the English cricket captain, who pulled out of a Bangladesh tour 4 or 5 years ago, he's playing in the IPL. It smells to me, I can't tell this as a matter of fact, but we need to know that his player power and a craven, pusillanimous, cowardly board prepared to kick one of our closest cricketing allies to whom we owe an enormous debt of gratitude and honour, to kick them in the, well, I was almost going to say in the, somewhere unmentionable on Sky TV, but to kick them in the teeth.
Right, so this video clip was courtesy Sky News, and we brought it to you because it was very important. Very clearly, the whole problem is framed and it is before you. If India has once again used its influence, its clout to try to kill cricket in Pakistan, it is not new, but usually it is thought that democracies, as India likes to call itself, are very confident and they build institutions, they help under other countries as well, rather than bringing them down. India must be the only so-called democracy that keeps on doing it. We don't know whether it was India or it was some other thing, but there are indicators because there is a history, and you heard one of the very important journalists as well, and we can talk about that. In order to help us understand what might have gone wrong, we are joined by Parvez Jamil Mir Saab, who's a senior journalist, joins us on Skype. PJ Mir Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. We are also joined by Lieutenant General retired named Khalid Lodi Saab, who's former National Security Advisor and Defense Minister of Pakistan. General Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Let me start with PJ Mir Saab. PJ Mir Saab, you have a history with cricket. You have worked with PCB as well. What do you think has gone wrong this time? Because on the face of it, Pakistan seemed very safe, and even the High Commissioner, the British High Commissioner, is saying that there was no concern about security. At least that was the recommendation when it came to the High Commission's recommendations. So what exactly is going on, and why these two back-to-back cancellations, sir?
Well, General Lodi will elaborate what I probably am going to say. Look, first of all, ICC sends their security team, then the New Zealand security team comes in, then the Pakistani security comes in, and they give all the clearances. Lastminute.com, just before the toss, the New Zealand team decides to go away, and yet the New Zealand captain, when he was informed to leave, he wasn't even told why he was going or why the team was leaving. So there was a lot of ambiguity in what has happened here. And the worst thing is that, look, does it mean that, if NATO and the other forces have run away, that now the Taliban are going to come after the New Zealand team or the England team? I mean, it's a joke. It's a clear joke, as what the journalist was saying. I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, without going into the pros and cons, they've just dismissed it as nothing. And as you said earlier on in your prologue, yes, Ramiz as chairman is limited in what he can talk because he will be talking to his counterparts, and of course he cannot be saying things which obviously which will be regrettable later on. So he has his own slot right now. But having said so, what we need to do is really ask from the touring team, who gave you that information? Where did the information emanate from? If you've got any email proofs, if you've got any telephone calls and so on forth, who gave you those calls? So at least our security agency will try and investigate on that further. But it's been a kick at the teeth by ECB and of course by the New Zealand Cricket Board, because if you remember, tours are cancelled not just because on flimsy grounds. I mean, go back in history, as I mentioned before, in '39, West Indies England tour was cancelled because of World War II. Then you come back in the '68-'69 series in Bangladesh and Dhaka, then it was cancelled because of riots. Understandable. Then here in '84-'85, yes, when Indira Gandhi was assassinated, India went back. And in 2002, would you believe, it was New Zealand. The last 18 years ago, there was a bomb blast in Karachi, and they were in the hotel and they left. Fair enough. But here, times have changed, security has improved, and our observation mechanics have really, improved. So what was the problem? As our chief of army staff has said, look, we are quite capable of, securing our people. And Farrukh, the most important thing is, will we ever, whether it is New Zealand, England, or any other team, let them go in with our own boys? And if we do, then that means we don't care about our boys. Of course, we care about our boys. And if we do,
Right.
we care about you too. So they should have understood that it's the lives of two teams, not one team. And that is where I find it regrettable that they've taken such a hasty stance.
Right. And PJ Mirza, when I come back to you, I want to ask you what exactly you are hearing, what might be the cause. But regarding, General Sahab, regarding New Zealand, because Pakistan has a history of admiration of our Kiwi brothers, the Black Caps, and we have been lavishing praise all the time. But this time, suddenly, when matches are about to start, it was the kind of cancellation that hurts the most. You usually have the inside scoop. So what are you hearing? What exactly happened? Because first we heard about the Five Eyes, then Afghanistan, then India, and in the end, we were also hearing about some JF-17 Thunder sales. So what exactly is behind this?
First of all, I think it's very sad that politics has entered in such a big way in the sports field also. There were certain, reflections of politics here and there in Olympics or somewhere, but never so blatantly and in such a way as it has happened now. Uh, I think all these things which you have mentioned, uh, they could have been the factors because I believe that conspiracies are no more theories. They are actually there, and we have ample, indicators to know that conspiracies are there and conspiracies are being hashed. Actually, what I would say is that fair play and justice that has become, very rare, and that has become, the things of the past. So, if you look at the Five Eyes, we know that it is the USA and Australia and New Zealand is also part of it, in Canada.
Britain
So,
and Canada.
right.
Yeah.
So all they are one group. Now, what I assess, my assessment is all those factors must be there, which you have mentioned already, including the JF-17 factor. But I think Imran Khan's statements at SCO, I will just quote two of his sentences. One, he said that the world must accept the ground realities in Afghanistan, and you and me understand what does it mean. And secondly, he said that things cannot be enforced on Afghanistan from outside. Now, this also, I mean, it needs no elaboration. That what did he mean? And we know that how much India has cut up as far as the Afghan situation is concerned, and they would, leave no stone unturned to whatever harm they can do to us, whether it is sports or it is our reputation or whatever. So we can't complain on that. Now, what we should be doing, one, of course, whatever is possible legally, we must proceed. Whatever is possible to, ask for damages, we must proceed. But I think we must concentrate more on the quality of game of our own players. And I would say that our players should not get carried away or seeped in by a revenge sort of thing, or a lot of anger, because we all those who have been playing sports, and PJ Mir will can be asked about it. I've been playing sports. I know the moment you get this sort of feeling of revenge and anger, you always lose, because game is altogether a different mind set in which you have to play. So I think our players must be cleared of all these sentiments. They must concentrate on the game itself, and to the utmost of their power, they must improve their game, and they must show to the world that we are world class players, and we know that, and we must prove that in all fields, whether it is 2020 or one days or the test matches. And
Right.
also, I would say that we should also approach teams who are more amenable to us, like Sri Lanka, South Africa was just here, like West Indies, like Afghanistan, and arrange more tournaments in our own country with the teams, those who are willing to come, and that will
Right. General
actually
Sahab, that is
set a
very
good example.
important. That is very important, because, but I actually want to draw your attention to the nature of excuse or clarification that was given to cancel these visits, right? They have actually cited very abstract security concerns. Is there a possibility that these two cricket boards can step up the plate and at least give us a clear reason why it happened? If there was a specific intel threat, they can actually share that. Otherwise, even if it was India or another country, please tell us at least that doesn't affect Pakistan's image as a cricketing place. Is it not true?
True. It is true, but they will never do it. I mean, one, that I think they don't have any credible information. Otherwise, they would have given it by now. Secondly, they will never accept this thing that it was because of India's cajoling that we changed all that, because that will belittle their own stance. So I think for them, the only option is just to keep quiet, because they have nothing to say. And they're keeping quiet. We should make use of that, and we should try to build our case that, look, they have nothing credible to offer. They have of course, but one thing we must remember, that if all these five countries, they say that we had some information that such and such thing was likely to happen, what can we say? I mean, there's
Right.
no
But
no
they haven't
change in
said
the
it.
situation.
General Sahab, with due respect, that has not officially been communicated, right? It hasn't been reported on the media. There is whisper campaign, social media reports, or some third party reports in the press that keep on stating it. General Sahab, I'm going to come back to you. Let me go to PJ Mir Sahab. PJ Mir Sahab, what exactly are you hearing might be the reason? Is it India? Is it some foreign policy or defense policy issue, or something else has happened?
Look, I mean, I can't directly accuse India, but I can also insinuate, because I remember in 2007 when I was the media manager, and we had our national coach Bob Woolmer. He died, and myself and the team manager Talatali, we went, we saw him. He was literally, he was basically dead. Well, he was not dead, but there was movement. But when he went to the hospital, they said, "Oh, he arrived dead on arrival." I said, "All right, fine. If that's what you say, let's get on with it." So we started to make arrangements, and would you believe, Farrukh, in the next 30 minutes, India, they started blowing that he was murdered. And who was the doctor? Dr. Ishaya from India. Now that ban, I don't know who he gave the information to. I mean, the world just took it over that Bob was murdered. Can you believe it? And the blame was put on our team. We were swabbed. We were interrogated by the Jamaican police, and it was all because of a rumor, all because of a hearsay. And somebody planted that news back in India, who blew it out of proportion, and all of a sudden we were looked upon as the culprits. India has always played the negative. India will always play the negative. Has any one statement come after the New Zealanders left back for home that they should have stayed back? Did anybody say from the Indian Cricket Board? No. Indian players and Pakistani players play with each other around the world. They have no quarrels amongst themselves. They have no issues amongst themselves. It is unfortunately the cancerous junta which is ruling India, and of course their agents, the RAW. These are the kind of people who try and create all kinds of differences, and I'd say, all kinds of misdemeanors to create misunderstandings and carry on creating. Why? Simply because we get entangled in this, and the Kashmir issue is basically put on the back burner, and then of course they get on to the Afghan situation, and again they try and blame us, or that we are trying to interfere in Afghanistan. What a load of baloney! I mean, here international cricketers are favouring Pakistan. West Indian, and other cricketers are saying it was a bad thing, England has cancelled and New Zealand has cancelled. I mean, the cricketing fraternity is calling it, and look what everybody else is talking.
Absolutely. PJ Mir Saab, we have to take a break. When we come back, we are going to ask you about the possible remedies as well. But viewers, it is very important to remember when it comes to New Zealand, many Pakistanis repeatedly with public exposure have been full of praise in the past. Everyone, it seems, is a fan of the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. And yet, we didn't get a clear response as well. We have to take a break. When we come back, we are going to play some vox pops for you, and then we are going to discuss various aspects that still remain to be addressed. Take a break. Welcome back. Before the break, I actually said that we are going to share Vox Pops with you. Remember, viewers, if you have been watching this program, we here never support any kind of conspiracy theories, but there is a humongous history that PJ Mir Saab was mentioning that actually Herschel Gibbs and his tweets actually show as well. So there is a lot of hurt in this country. Let us watch those vox pops, those statements, those opinions from common folks, and then we are going to come back.
It's unfortunate whatever's happened. As far as visiting teams are concerned, we have been giving them, the government has been providing them adequate security.
I think Pakistan is a safe country to visit. Every country should come here, and we are proud of our security forces. I don't know why they have cancelled the tour. We will tell them in the World Cup.
New Zealand team was given presidential level protocol by the security agencies and the police and the Rangers and the Pakistan Army. We as cricket fans, we are absolutely saddened by the situation and by the response we've gotten from the New Zealand Cricket Board.
I'd like to say that Pakistan is a very safe country, and it's very unfortunate the New Zealand team, it left so suddenly.
My suggestion to the world is that do come visit Pakistan. Pakistan is a very beautiful country. We are very loving people, and we have one of the finest agencies and security forces in the world.
I just want everyone to know that we've been through this and we'll come through this again, and cricket will come home.
It's unfortunate.
Right. These were the common people actually talking, but when you talk to a common man on the street, personally also, not all of them can speak English, but you see the hurt, the anger, the sadness that is quite visible. This country really breathes cricket. It eats and sleeps cricket. So whatever is happening is really sad. Let me go back to Gerald Saab. Gerald Saab, regarding the security arrangements, it is very important to point out how secure were the arrangements. Our defense minister, our interior minister actually said that regarding security, the security arrangements were unprecedented, and Pakistan had actually deployed more forces than New Zealand might have. What do you have to say on this, sir?
I think it goes without saying that the security was foolproof. And Pakistan was very well aware of this thing that, with a lot of difficulty, international cricket has come to Pakistan, and we wouldn't have taken a chance, not even a small chance, to make all that go sour. So, and we also saw that they kept on carrying out the practice. There was I went to Serena while the players were there, and it was quite difficult to approach Serena, easily, because they had cordoned it and they had made sure that no unwanted people they can get in there. And of course, throughout the track, the passage up to the ground, which was not very far away, it was close by. So I think, and nobody has ever said that there was any big change in the security situation, let us say in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Whatever was happening, sporadic, actions in Balochistan or elsewhere, those were otherwise happening, here and there after 1 month, 2 months, in a week's time or whatever, nothing close to Islamabad. So I think making excuse of this security situation is not acceptable. But if you allow, I would like to say one thing, which might be a slightly digression from what we are discussing, and that is about our complaint and our lamenting the situation. I mean, we have been hurt. The more we raise our voice, the more we cry, our enemies are going to enjoy that. So rather than what we should do is get over it and see that what best we can do for our team and what legal actions we can take and how we can ask for remedies and all that. And I think 4-5 days, for the 4-5 days, the entire channels of Pakistan are, doing that. This has happened and that has happened. I would say that from today onward, please, Pitafi, stop it.
Okay, sir, this is my first program actually on the subject. And regarding the so-called enemy, I assume you're talking about India, right? Because the mental image of India, if it is true, and if India is actually behind this, is of a sadist country, which actually wants you to feel pain and then enjoy it as well. This is very sad commentary on the comedy or tragedy that India has become. But regarding security, PJ Mir Saab, I just wanted to point out that this time I also plan to take my children and my nephews to the match. So one doesn't do it when one fears that there is going to be some kind of security problem. So everybody was so much committed. Now, PJ Mir Saab, what is the remedy possible? Is there a legal platform available for Pakistan to vent its anger and to seek some kind of remedy?
Farrukh, I think for starters, I don't think we should go on the legal side of it, because look.
There seems to be. PJ Mir Saab, your sound might be muted, so you'll have to unmute it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No. Yeah, I can. Right. Please go ahead.
Look, for a starters, I think we shouldn't go on this line, on the legal framework line, that what should be done and all that, because at the end of the day, I think once we get an explanation, a full explanation from the New Zealand Cricket Board, and of course the ECB, I think then we can, England didn't come to Pakistan. So England would be out of the window. Whereas New Zealand, it had decided to come into Pakistan, and it had gone through all the security measures. And I think that is where the legal side, I mean, what legal side can be there? Can be there? I mean, that can be countered, and it brings a bad taste in the cricketing world. So I think we should avoid that on high moral ground. I think New Zealand should be a bigger player and say, all right, we withdrew and we want to compensate you for this. I think that will be the right way. And how do we do it? I think Ramiz is there. He's a wonderful negotiator. He's a good, he's a good talker. He can talk anybody under the table. So I think we need people like him and others who should meet their counterparts and explain what the situation is, and of course explain the financial reasons. Now the remedy, the long-term remedy is somebody should drum, holes in the Indian ears. Look, how long will you continue with this kind of a policy? How long will you create uncertainty in the policy? You tend to be the champion of SARC, and look, what are you doing in the SARC countries? So please stop avoiding it. In fact, the junta right now is hurting the Indian public itself. So they should be realizing they won't survive like this for a long period. I mean, right now we are hearing voices. We are hearing sane voices in India against these people who are basically hard. I tell you, they're even more hardliner than these Talibans. So these people need to understand that there is a sell-by date, and if they don't behave properly, they'll be just going out of the window as quickly as they've come. And that is the only way. Now,
PJ, I understand that there might not be a legal remedy. I understand there might be some diplomatic remedy. Regarding India, I tell you, under Narendra Modi, it is not easy to shame Indian government into doing something.
True.
This has been happening for quite some time. But regarding financial losses, because there were tickets which were sold, there was airtime advertisement that was also sold, there was substantial loss to Pakistan's exchequer as well. Now there has to be some kind of financial compensation, right? How do we actually approach that aspect? Because it is important in the end. Cricket, Pakistan cannot survive without financial gains that it makes. PJ Mirzab.
Well, I don't know for a starters if the TV rights were insured or not. Usually TV rights are insured, and if they're insured, then I'm sure they'll go for that. But if not, then of course the insurance, the TV companies will go for New Zealand, because they're the ones who backed out of this tour, not Pakistan. So they can't blame Pakistan, or anybody can blame Pakistan for all the expenses they've incurred. And here, I think New Zealand, like I said earlier on, New Zealand has to be on the high moral ground and really say, all right, we were given this information, but at the same time, in the same breath, I would be very interested in asking the New Zealanders that please share this information with us in the larger interests of the cricket, fraternity, because tomorrow the same information could be sent to London, to Australia, or to anywhere else. So or even India, if that may happen. So we need to be sharing these, intelligence, informations, because if we don't, then we keep everybody a suspect. Everybody becomes, a complete suspect, and which creates bad blood, which creates bad flavor, and of course, at the end of the day, it creates bad blood amongst the players, and that is something which we don't need in this very hard times which the global village is facing right now.
Right, that is very important. General Saab, regarding compensation, earlier we had Ramiz Raja Saab on this program as well. I asked him, but I understand that Chairman PCB might not actually want to divulge what kind of financial loss was there. First of all, why don't we actually, in the public sphere, why don't we know how much loss was incurred by these cancellations? And then again, I understand that you recommended that Pakistan should not be seeking any kind of legal remedy. PJ Mirzab actually did. What exactly can we do then? We cannot actually argue with Indians. We have seen that their government, regardless of what happens, first they went for big three, monopolization, then other means as well through which they kept on stifling Pakistan cricket. And now they're not going to stop. So how do we communicate with other countries which are friendly? UK is a friendly country, New Zealand is a friendly country. How to actually ask them to be more cognizant to our interests and concerns?
If you ask me honestly, I would suggest that let us not overreact. Whatever we have reacted is good enough. And I agree with PJ Mirza, because even if you take it up legally, they can say, okay, we will not expose our source, but we had this report, then what will we do? I mean, if the 2-3 of the countries that say so, I would suggest concentrate on the game, make sure that you work very hard, and in all fields try to improve your game. And also the other thing which I said, that those countries which are more amenable playing with us, we must approach them, and we must try to have some tournaments, whether we go there or they come here. And for quite some time we should refuse to go to England, and we should refuse to go to New Zealand. They can play with whomsoever they want to play. Yes, if they come to play in some neutral ground, no problem, we can do that. So I think that is the only way, the only sane reaction would be improve your game, and try to make a group of like-minded countries and show to the world that, okay, if we are not 11 countries, at least 5-6 of us can play with each other, and things will settle down automatically. That is what comes to my mind. Otherwise, just trying to rub this thing more and more will only hurt us, and it will not gain anything as far as we are concerned.
But just to be devil's advocate, Jadal Saab, earlier you said that media has been focusing on this thing. Media actually caters to the demands and expectations of viewers, and there seems to be a lot of disappointment and pain. You'll have to realize that. That's why media might have been focusing on this matter. But this actually brings us to the end of the program.
If you allow half a sentence, just half a sentence, that media should not only respond to the viewers, media should also guide them in the proper direction. Thank you.
Yes. Right, I understand that, sir. Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodi Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. PJ Mir Saab, always great having you in the show as well. Thank you very much. Viewers, there's a lot that I could have said at the end of this program, but there is a soundbite, actually video clip by Kristen Turner, the High Commissioner, a British High Commissioner to Pakistan, that actually also says it all. Let us watch that clip, and then this we will conclude. This is the conclusion. Thank you very much for watching. Just watch the clip.
Assalamu alaikum. I share the deep sadness of cricket fans that England will not tour Pakistan in October. Mujhe afsos hai. This was a decision made by the ECB, which is independent of the British government, based on concerns for player welfare. The British High Commission supported the tour, did not advise against it on security grounds, and our travel advice for Pakistan has not changed. I have been a champion of international cricket's return to Pakistan and will redouble my efforts in advance of England's autumn 2022 tour. My thanks to all at the PCB who have worked so hard in support of that. मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ that we'll soon hear the roar of full cricket stadiums again. आखिर में जीत cricket की होगी. शुक्रिया.